In 1990, one song, built around a sampled Andrew Dice Clay line and a hungover melody dreamed up after a night of partying, shot to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became one of the defining alternative hits of the entire decade. On the 14th of August 2026, the band behind that song delivered devastating news to their fans. Derry Brownson, the founding keyboardist of EMF, had died at just 55 years old. Today, we're telling the real story of the man behind the samples and synths on Unbelievable, a founding member who helped define British alternative music and who fought a private, difficult battle right up until his final months on stage with the band he helped create. EMF announced Brownson's passing through social media on the morning of Friday, the 14th of August 2026, revealing that they had only learned the devastating news the night before. In their statement, the band wrote that they had lost their brother-in-arms, Derry Brownson, adding that they were devastated, but found some solace in being eternally grateful that Derry had been able to join them on stage a couple of times just a few short months earlier. They closed their tribute with the words, "Nothing will ever be the same again without our bandmate and friend. Fly high, brother Derry." As of this recording, EMF's own statement did not specify an official cause of death. However, according to BBC Gloucestershire, Brownson had been diagnosed with a brain tumour and had been undergoing treatment for the condition in recent years, a battle that had, at times, prevented him from performing alongside his bandmates. Tributes poured in quickly from across the music industry. Ash frontman Tim Wheeler offered his condolences and love. Singer-songwriter Kirk Brandon wrote that the world was less for the loss of one man. Bands, including Therapy and Dictator, also shared their condolences publicly, a reflection of just how respected and well-liked Brownson was within the British alternative rock scene. Derry Brownson was born in 1971 and grew up in Cinderford, a small town in Gloucestershire's Forest of Dean, in the west of England. Before EMF, he played in a band called Flower Drum, cutting his teeth on the same local music scene that would soon produce one of the era's most unexpected commercial success stories. In October of 1989, Brownson left Flower Drum behind to help found EMF, joining bassist Zach Foley, drummer Mark DeCloet, DJ Milf, and vocalist James Atkin, with guitarist and principal songwriter Ian Dench joining the lineup shortly after. The band's name, EMF, officially stood for Epsom Mad Funkers, a nod to a New Order fan club, though speculation about an alternate, less family-friendly meaning has followed the band for decades. What's not in dispute is how quickly they found success. After playing just 5 live shows, EMF signed with EMI. Their explosive breakthrough single, Unbelievable, reportedly came together after guitarist Ian Dench worked out its now iconic melody while hungover, following a night out partying with Brownson himself. The song, driven by a breakbeat groove and built around a now legendary sample of comedian Andrew Dice Clay, became an instant global smash, topping the Billboard Hot 100 Inches the United States in 1991. That same year, EMF released their debut album, Schubert Dip, which reached #3 on the UK charts, and included further hit singles I Believe and Children. As the band's keyboardist and sample player, Brownson was a foundational architect of EMF's sound, blending dance, alternative rock, and sample-heavy production in a way that helped define the sound of early 1990s British alternative music for audiences on both sides of the Atlantic. EMF's path forward wasn't always smooth. Following their third album, Cha Cha Cha, in 1995, the band went on hiatus, during which Brownson briefly joined the alt-rock group LK. EMF reunited in 2001 for a London reunion gig and released a greatest hits compilation. Then, in 2002, the band was struck by tragedy when founding bassist Zach Foley died from what was ruled a case of misadventure, following the presence of multiple substances in his system. The band played a handful of further shows before splitting once again. They would go on to reunite periodically over the following decades, including a 2007 reunion featuring new bassist Richard March and one-off shows in 2012 and 2016 with bassist Stevie Marsh. Through all of these changes, Brownson remained a constant. In 2020, the band released a career-spanning box set, and in 2022, they released their 4th studio album, Go Go Sapiens, their first new full-length release in 27 years. They followed that with a fifth album, The Beauty and the Chaos, in 2024 and continued touring, including dates across North America as recently as this past spring. Just last year, the BBC released a radio documentary special covering the band's early years. At the time of Brownson's passing, EMF had reportedly been finishing work on a brand new 1/4 song album, a project that now carries deep, unexpected significance for surviving bandmates and fans alike. What makes Derry Brownson's passing so difficult for fans to process is the quiet, private nature of his illness. While the band's own announcement did not specify a cause of death, BBC Gloucestershire's reporting on his brain tumour diagnosis paints a picture of a musician who continued showing up for his bandmates and fans whenever he possibly could, even while managing an extremely difficult health battle behind the scenes. The band's own words, expressing gratitude that he'd been able to join them on stage in recent months despite everything he was facing, speak to just how much that continued presence meant to the people who knew him best. As of this recording, no further official medical details have been released, and out of respect for those closest to him, we won't speculate further. Unlike many of the public figures covered on this channel, Derry Brownson kept his personal life almost entirely private throughout his career. No verified public information exists regarding a wife, partner, or children, and coverage of his life and passing has focused overwhelmingly on his decades-long role within EMF, rather than on details of a personal life he chose to keep out of the public eye. That privacy, in many ways, mirrored his role within the band itself, working as an essential architect of their sound from a position slightly outside the spotlight held by the group's lead vocalist and guitarist. Given the nature of Brownson's career, primarily built around his role as a founding member of a band with one major breakout commercial hit, followed by decades of more modest reunion tours and studio albums, no verified net worth figure has been publicly reported for him. What can be said is that Unbelievable remains one of the most enduring alternative singles of the early 1990s, generating ongoing royalties, licensing revenue, and streaming income for the band's members for well over 3 decades, a lasting financial legacy tied directly to a song Brownson helped create from the very beginning. Derry Brownson's story is, in many ways, a story about persistence and quiet dedication to a craft. He didn't chase the fame that came with Unbelievable alone. He stayed with EMF through hiatuses, tragedy, lineup changes, and reunions spanning more than 3 decades, remaining the band's keyboardist through it all. Even while privately managing a serious illness, he continued returning to the stage whenever he was able, a level of commitment to his bandmates and his craft that clearly meant everything to the people who worked alongside him. His story is a reminder that some of the most meaningful contributions to music happen not in a single explosive moment of fame, but in the decades of quiet, consistent work that follow it. Derry Brownson helped build one of the most recognizable sounds of early 1990s alternative music, and he stayed loyal to that sound, and to his bandmates, for more than 3 decades afterward. From a small town in the Forest of Dean to the top of the Billboard charts, his keyboards and samples became an inseparable part of a song that still gets people moving more than 35 years later. He leaves behind his EMF bandmates, who called him their brother in arms, and a devoted global fanbase who grew up dancing to Unbelievable. Rest in peace, Derry. Fly high, brother. If EMF's music, or Derry Brownson's role in shaping Unbelievable and the band's sound, meant something to you, we'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment below sharing your favorite EMF memory or song. And if you want more respectful, in-depth tributes to the musicians who shaped alternative music, don't forget to subscribe to Your Star Facts.